I am in Ruth chapter 1, and I'm reading out the Amplified. In the days when the judges governed Israel, there was a famine in the land of Canaan. And a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to live temporarily in the country of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi, and his 2 sons were named Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went to the country of Moab and stayed there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left a widow with her 2 sons. They took wives from the Moabite women. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the woman Naomi was left without her sons and her husband. Then she set out with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in Moab how the Lord had taken care of his people of Judah and given them food. So she left the place where she was living with her 2 daughters-in-laws with her, and they started on the way back to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, return to your mother's house. May the Lord show kindness to you as you have shown kindness to the dead and to me." And I'm going to stop right there because I want to come back to give us a little history and then to try to make our point. There is so much I would like to cover, but we don't have the time. But I do want to point out that when we read this in other versions, we see that the Bible says, in verse 4, even in this one, they lived there about 10 years. And we want to look at this number 10 as being very significant because we understand that this was all taking place in the period of the judges. And we all know that even according to Judges, I think that's in chapter 21, where it says, and every man was doing what was right in his own eyes. This is what was going on in the period of Judges. So we see that for all this time prior to this, they had been there. But now we see that the Bible says this is about 10 years. So when we study in Numbers, we understand that 9 is the number of judgment, but 10 is the number of test or testimony. So we are going to see how in the midst of the judgment on Israel, that there is a remnant. In this remnant, you have Naomi and her husband, who we know are Jews because they were Ephraimites. And then they took Moabite women. What makes them taking Moabite women so significant is because we understand that in, I believe it was Leviticus or Deuteronomy, I really be needing these notes in front of me, but okay. In one of those, the Moabite were legally banned from entering the temple. They were polytheists. They worshiped multiple gods, and they also dealt in human sacrifice. So now we have this woman, Ruth, who in any other circumstance would not have any access to Yahweh or to the God of Abraham or Isaac or Jacob because she can't enter the temple. And now she is tied to this Ephraimite woman, Naomi. And even when Naomi told her, "Look, leave me. You all are young. You don't have children by my sons." And why that is so significant, because since they didn't have children by her sons, had they stayed with her, a next of kin, or what they call it, basically a next of kin, would have to be the one to marry Ruth, because she could still have children. But Ruth's firstborn had to be promised to Naomi because they had to continue the line of Naomi. That's the significance of her having to marry someone, the next of kin in line. Which is why when she was approached by Boaz, Boaz first said she had to be released by the one who was legally obligated to her. So even knowing that she had to give up her inheritance, even knowing that she had to give up her first child as her heir and would not be promised any land because that was a big deal, even knowing this, she chose to stay with Naomi. Why? Because Naomi has something that otherwise she couldn't get. My hot bread Moral of the story is to stay connected. If by any means necessary, stay connected to that connects you to Yahweh, that connects you to God. Even though by sin and by separation, we don't deserve to be with him. We don't deserve his grace. We don't deserve his mercy. We should be outcast. We should not be granted to sit with him because we're not even holy enough. But I encourage you to stay connected and stay linked to that thing that connects you to him. She said, where you lodge, I'll lodge. Where you go, I'll go. Your God will be my God. Why? Because she had met and become associated with our God. Our God is great and greatly to be praised. My encouragement for you is to stay connected by any means necessary, even if it means what you think you're owed or what you think somebody owes you. He is a rewarder of them who diligently seek him. And as we see, Ruth was greatly rewarded. That's another lesson for another day. May the Lord add a blessing to the reader, hearer, and doer of his word.